Every evening I seem to die, and every morning I seem to be a little bit reborn and keep on going. So we'll see how long I hold out for this time. It all looks the same.
My name is Jamie Madison, and I've done a fair few different expeditions to Central Asia over the course of the past 6 years.
I'm just spent, absolutely.
But this was the first time I had really gone off the beaten track.
Do you run here?
Chit-chit.
Чуть-чуть. Okay, we'll see.
Maybe not.
What's happened?
We've hit a bit of a sandstorm.
It was like what
The road is so sandy that we can't see anything. Yeah, it's good fun, you know. I'll run in this. I won't go very far.
The objective of my expedition was to make the first crossing, to my knowledge, of the Betpak Dala, so the Steppe of Misfortune, from its easternmost edge on the shores of Lake Balkhash all the way to the Sarasu River on the westernmost edge, a distance of about 250 miles. And along the way, I wanted to see what lay in this vast expanse of uninhabited, almost wasteland.
This is the start of my run. How cool is that? The start from here, 300 miles west. Yeah, I'm running into a desert.
The Betpak Dala is an area of absolutely dry and desolate steppe east of a place called Kizil, which is not far from the Baikonur Cosmonaut Center where they launch all the Russian rockets. It's completely flat, there's not very much there, there's no elevation, there's a bit of scrub. It's like the same 5 miles of environment repeated like a chessboard over and over and over and over and over again for 200 miles in every direction. It's very bleak, very.
Не задави, все.
Day 2, and I'm just walking back to the sort of main track that's taken us into the Betpak off this little side one where we camped last night. Feeling alright. I felt destroyed yesterday, absolutely destroyed. But now I'm feeling okay-ish. So we'll see what the next 7 hours of running bring. Oh God, even the thought of it. Jeez.
The biggest challenge for me in the Betpak Dala was certainly the routine of running. I was trying to run 26 miles, a marathon plus every single day, back to back. And that was incredibly hard. That back-to-back running was just so demanding. I'm not going to make marathon distance today because I'm just spent absolutely so beyond the point of exhaustion. It's this sun has been shining in my face for the past 3 hours. I just can't move my feet anymore. I'm so just done. Really don't want to be here.
Дима, Что?
Я круиз-контроль ставлю.
Давай, поставь круиз-контроль. Нам нужно будет выставить скорость так, чтобы мы примерно с одинаковой скоростью шли с нашим спринтером. Итак, GPS показывает нам скорость 7,7 км в час. До следующей цели 155 километров. Это старый военный полигон, старая военная база. Дима, удалось установить круиз-контроль?
Пытаемся.
Ну-ка, вы без ног едете?
Сейчас без ног буду. Без ног, все.
Все, вот машина едет сама, без ног. Круиз-контроль выставлен. Дима, тебе дать газетку почитать?
Не, сейчас пойдем в картишки пока перейдем.
А, хорошо, картишки. Ну вот, так нам предстоит ехать 10 дней. Весело. Сейчас достану ноутбук, будем фильм смотреть.
My Russian friends had a hard time, but in a completely different way. They said it to me as well, you're testing yourself physically, but we're testing ourselves mentally.
Хорошо. Дорога вам нравится?
Обалденная. Вот урановые бомбы едем ставить. Уже заказали. Мне сказали, вообще челюсть всю поменяют.
Sitting behind a person who's moving very slowly, I was moving incredibly slowly, and just trailing that car behind, going at a snail's pace, and just sitting in a car for 10 hours at a time, not going anywhere, is, that's an incredible mental challenge, more so than what I was doing in my own self-absorbed running world. And they had to do a whole host of things just to keep themselves interested. I'd look round and all of a sudden they'd be out the car and there'd be nobody driving the car, but the car's just kind of shooting forwards on its own because they get so bored, or they'd stand on the bonnet, or they'd shoot off. Often I'd turn around and I'd see the car just shooting off into the distance where they found something interesting, so they want to go have a look at it. Or they end up attacking kind of snakes with water bottles to see if they can get a rise out of them.
Все, оставь. Димон, оставь, я сфотографирую.
Она беременная. Или только что покушала.
So in many ways, they kind of took more risks than I did. Fair play to those guys. That I really think they went through a kind of similarly torturous experience in existence in the Backpack Dala. So the tailwind is rocking today, and I'm gonna do some blinking good distance, I know it. Oh yeah! I'm sprinting into a Soviet army base, and all I can think of is if there's a sniper, I am really, really in the open, and that's so silly.
Былая мощь Советского Союза.
As we were journeying through the Betpat Dala, we came across a lot of kind of nose cones from fired ground-to-ground rockets, and they were my first indication of kind of like real tangible indication of like military activity.
Все, на голову одень. Димасик, примерь на голову.
Хороший шлем.
We came to a huge, absolutely huge, about 50 or 60 buildings. It was a military base. It was a military base that belonged to the Soviet Unions, where it was a weapons testing facility. We rocked up, and the first thing you notice is this huge radar dome, which was just cavernous inside, and it's got graffiti. You know, the soldiers who were leaving must have graffitied before they left. But there's all these different buildings, some with dates stamped on them in the brickwork from like 1950. 56. All these buildings had their kind of innards ripped out. There was entire buildings that had been blown up, composed of, you know, 2 or 3 meter thick fire-resistant blocks with reinforced iron, and they'd been blown to pieces. And that's really scary. I don't know what blew that apart.
Это вот тоннель, который вел. Здесь, видимо, казармы были.
Да, похоже на то.
И вот он вел вот в эту башню. А с этой башни куда?
Не знаю.
I was the first Westerner, probably one of only a handful of people since the soldiers left ever to see this place, and it was really, you know, it was quite a privilege and quite scary too. But to see this hidden insight into the kind of former activities of one of the world's greatest superpowers, now just laying to dust. What made the journey so interesting was my friends Sergey and Dmitry. They were as excited as I was about exploring this area and seeing what was there and discovering an area that's not seen by anybody. Dmitry had his hands full with the car, that's for sure. It seemed that every other hour something was going wrong.
Дима, что случилось?
Лишняя запчасть.
А что с ними случилось?
Не хочет ходить.
Ага, вот убираем одну лишнюю запчасть от машины. Она вот здесь вот должна была стоять.
Теперь не хочет.
Ну, теперь она не будет здесь стоять.
Дай мне лучше
Так,
вторую
пойдем.
головку.
Then all of a sudden, the major issue that I've learned, and I only learned in typical Soviet, like ex-Soviet style, was that we were basically about to run out of fuel, and that we had 300 kilometers worth of fuel left in the tank, but 250 kilometers to go to the next nearest place where we could possibly refuel it and kind of get out. And that is the suspension out of kilter. We're just 10 kilometers away from from the main highway and the end of everything, yet the Betpack is throwing everything it's got at us. So this is some of the worst roads I think I've ever travelled on in my entire time going around Central Asia. The last day was something entirely out of this world. Out of nowhere rose about 30 miles of the most awful sand dunes that could be imagined. They were so high and so hard to get through.
Рев движка, обороты. Черный дым, этого не видно, но он есть. Чугунный движок 3.3 начал греться.
we were becoming more and more stressed, and the progress crawled, so that it would take us about an hour to do a kilometre. We were so tired, and it's by the time we finally rock over the last sand dune, it's pitch black, but we kind of roll into a settlement, and we kind of, or the other side of the settlement, and there's a boy who's about 14 who's meant to be guarding a construction site that's on the banks of the river, and he kind of indicates in the pitch black, can't see where we're going, he indicates down the way to where the Sarasoo River is, and the car stops. It's got its powerful headlights on, and there, after all that time and all those miles, there's finally a kind of still, calm body of water, and that's the river. That's the Sarasoo River. That's where we'd aim to cross for. That's the marker, the boundary of the Bet Dala. It was a really nice moment. There was a real collective sense, we'd achieved something. I don't know what we'd achieved. We'd crossed from one barren point of land to another barren point of land, but they felt that in that there was some sort of meaning, and even if nobody else knew about it, it was still a meaning to us. It meant something that we'd gone and done this and experienced it together. And that was kind of more of a human experience that we all shared, and I certainly felt so kind of happy and so proud of what we'd accomplished and how far we'd come.